to be on the borderline of hosting and then get it, is that almost the ultimate sign of respect for the program and what you built?
I think so, but it also shows the momentum that we've had going into the end of our regular season. I know that the NCAA selection committee always wants the best teams, the hottest teams, to have the bid and to make it the NCAA tournament. So I knew when we were on that run and really the last month that we did everything we could do to be considered in the conversation. And obviously the proof's in the pudding. We were one of the top 16 seeds, but I mean, I'm just so proud of the run that we had and how we competed all the way down the stretch.
What was the emotion like when you see your name come up that you are hosting, through all the ups and downs? What was, the initial emotion for you?
It's as they go from the 1 seed and they're working way down, and they get to the 13, the 14, and the 15, then it's, okay, where are we going to fall into this thing because they're running out of teams right now? And then knowing that we got the 15 seed, just being so unbelievably proud that they were rewarded for their hard work and what they did. And it shows a lot of respect for what they have for Mizzou softball.
What were some of the first things, you said of this team when they did it, they got to that point?
You accomplish what you set out to do. I mean, we set from the very beginning, we want to host regionals, and that's really what our goal was. And we had some peaks and valleys, and halfway through the season, it was like, we're going to have to revisit our goals right now because we have to climb to make the NCAA tournament. We have to finish above 500. And when that happened, when we knew we were at least going to be above 500, we had a celebration. I mean, we were really, really happy for what we accomplished at that point because it wasn't going to be attainable if we continued down that path. And then once they set out to really lay down what their goals are going to be, it was, okay, we're going to be above 500. What's next? Next is to host. What do we need to do to host? We need to continue to win, and we need to make a great run through the SEC tournament, and that's what they did. So it makes me proud as a coach that they get rewarded for their hard work and their commitment.
Did you expect the host coming into that day, or was it a surprise to you?
I was pleasantly happy and expected it, but it wasn't going to be a guarantee. I'm not on the committee. I don't know what they're thinking. There's a lot more that goes into play because they're not seeding the 64. They're only seeding 16. So geography comes into play and finances come into play with who can travel here. So those things are out of our hand. I just knew we had a real good resume to be in the consideration.
How important is the first game in a regional to be able to set things up the way you want it to go the rest of the week?
It's everything. We want to win tomorrow. You want to play one game a day. But you win tomorrow, you're in a much better situation Saturday and Sunday. So everything is focused about Missouri State right now and putting ourselves in the best possible situation. It's almost like everyone's available. Everyone's available every day because you might not have tomorrow.
Pitching is probably the most important aspect from that perspective, I'd imagine.
Yeah, definitely pitching. Being able to manage your pitchers, not getting too thin, manage your bullpen correctly so you are competitive on that game to win that game, but also put yourself in a position that you can win tomorrow.
What is it about, Lauren and Jordan? It seems like last year, you get to this point, they start heating up a little bit more, and it seems like they did that at the SEC tournament as well. What is it about this time of year for those two?
It's the whole team. The way our program is structured, we teach so much. We teach the individual fundamentals. We're always, like even today, here's the practice before you're going to NCAA Regionals, we're still teaching. So players are learning at different speeds and different phases. So that's why towards the end of the year, we start to peak because that's when they really start to figure it out. They start to get it. They're more comfortable. They're more confident. And that's where it carries in. They're fresh, they're healthy, they have unbelievable training and support for recovery, so we're not burning out towards the end of the year. We're really, really gradually getting better because of all the preparation that we did.
Is there something that clicked for both the pitchers and the offense towards the end of that season? It's
maturity. It's understanding what you need to do in order to be successful. It's realizing what your opponent is doing and how to counterattack that. So it's maturity, it's experience. Nothing can take the place of it. So when we watch video, it's them understanding what pitches get hit hard, what pitches don't. How do you get batters out? And the more they're put in those situations, the more experience they have, the more growth, the more development.
So where is Hattie in her game now compared to, obviously when the season began, she had a lot of setbacks?
She is seeing the ball so much better than she was, and that's the big thing. I mean, she talked to you about her injuries. Any athlete, and this is why softball and baseball play so many games, it's because you can't condense a season into 13 games like you can some other sports. Like you have to play 56 regular season games. That's why Major League Baseball plays 162. She took off from her accident was in September, and she did not see a ball coming at her until January. That's a big gap. She lost out on a lot of development. She lost out on a lot of training. So getting her body more acclimated to seeing a ball coming at her at 70 miles an hour is going to take some time. What is great is that she was patient and willing to continue to work. And as coaching staffs, we were willing to continue to put her out there. Because we easily could have said, you're not going to do it this year, we're going to move on to somebody else. But knowing the commitment and the dedication that Hattie has to her own game, knowing that eventually she's going to figure it out and be able to give us what we need.
Yeah, she's just one player, but is there any parallels where she's kind of risen to where the rest of the team has kind of peaking now?
I think in the team understanding what Hattie had to go through, everybody else around her elevated their game. So we're not relying on Hattie to do all the offensive production. You know, we have 8 other players, so it's like, hey, you still be you. Catch the ball behind home plate, do a great job with that. We'll pick you up offensively, and if you're giving us something more, that's just going to be icing on the cake. So it doesn't put as much pressure on Hattie that she has to do the whole job.
Even when Hattie wasn't hitting as well, how did she contribute to the team from like a leadership or a defensive catching standpoint?
Just having that experience behind the plate. I mean, working with 4 young pitchers, being able to mentor them. She's been, 5 years of competing at the highest level, being one of the best hitters in the country and catching some phenomenal pitchers. She can then help them on, no, you have to work a little bit harder, you have to move the ball a little bit more, that would get hit hard, and always comparing what the pitching is doing to the best in the country. Because when you're in a bullpen, you don't always have a hitter in there to give you immediate feedback, and the same when you're facing your own hitters. So it's being able to give that immediate feedback every single day on the expectations and the standards that our pitchers need to have in order to be competitive and compete at the highest level.
How do you describe kind of the relationship you have with her and the way, I know you've talked before about you and Hattie are really in lockstep about how to handle this pitching staff?
You know, and I think it's really special, and I wish I could have a microphone in my ear during the game when Hattie's behind the plate and Jordan Weber's on the mound. It's really special, and I've never had the relationship with the 2 others that I do with the 2 of them. And you can see when I walk out to the mound, I immediately go to Hattie. And I'm talking to Hattie the entire time we're walking out to the mound, and I want to hear what Hattie sees. How's the ball moving? Does she have good location? Is the ball still spinning? So I'm getting the feedback from her because she has the best view. And then when we talk to Jordan, seeing what Jordan sees. And it's just such a special bond that we have, but that they're such students of the game that it makes me a better coach being able to coach them.
Is that something that helps your pitchers kind of peak at the right time like they have? Just
It's
they're so
trust.
comfortable?
Yeah, it's trust. It's the trust that I have in them, in what they're giving me, and vice versa. If Jordan, like the game that we had against Tennessee, Jordan and Hattie had a conversation on how they want to attack the Tennessee hitters. And then throughout the course of the game, the conversation we had on the mound was, Jordan, your rise ball's nasty. They're so out in front. They're early. They just let them hit foul balls, and it's going to set up the outer half. So she trusted the information I was giving her. I trusted the stuff that she was throwing. And when you have trust in everything that you're doing, then you can just go out and play.
There's a lot of uncertainty around this time of year. I mean, starting with this past Sunday. How do you kind of keep the focus as the head coach? I mean, you don't know who you're going to be playing Saturday, depending on Friday's game.
We just worry about Friday. That's it. I mean, we worry about Mizzou softball. So we don't worry about who we're playing, what they do. They're so prepared, and they've been prepared since February. And there isn't anything that anybody can do that we haven't practiced before. So we're not changing anything just because it's the regionals, just because it was the SEC tournament, just hopefully because it's super regionals. We do the same exact thing, same routine, because we practice that way all the time. We have our standards. We know the speed we have to play. So all I have to tell them is, hey, they got a little speed at the top of the lineup. They got a little speed at the bottom. Let's keep this kid off base and not let her beat us. And then, okay, let's go play.
You know, I was telling Brooke, I feel like if you guys weren't hosting, you were a team that people would have hated to have in their regional. Do you feel like the same way a little bit about Arizona too?
I mean, Arizona, again, so much respect for that program, very, very historical program. They know what it takes to compete at a very high level. You know, and that's the teams that are here in the 64 field, anybody can be anybody. And when I look at the bracket, there's no shoo-ins all the way through the entire bracket. I mean, 10 years ago, you could look at it and go, these people are winning, they're regional, they're going to go on to supers. You don't do that anymore. There's so much parity across the country. And the type of program that Arizona is that's competed at the highest level, that won national championships, they know what it takes to get there. So they're going to do that regardless if they're playing at home or if they're playing at Mizzou.